Am I on? Yeah, it's running. Hello, YouTube pipers. It's Double O Pipe. I'm as surprised as you are that I'm running here. I'm trying to decide what I want to smoke in my Savinelli, Bing's favorite, rusticated bowl. And I think I might try something different, a little Carter Hall. I don't know if any of you have tried Carter Hall, but I recommend it. I've tried several others, but I just can't find anything that I want to spend my money on whenever I've got a brand right here that I like. And I've got several back there that if I want to change a palate, I can poke that in my bowl and smoke it. But I'm quite satisfied with this, and I figure as old as I am, why don't I smoke something that I enjoy instead of spending money getting another tub or tin of tobacco that I don't like. I don't see the point. So, Carter Hall in my bowl. Carter Hall in my bowl. I have to open my window to let the smoke drift out. It dipped down to freezing early this morning. But it hasn't been too bad. If I ever sit down and learn how to weave things into one of these posts, I'll weave in some pictures of that year that it snowed out here, and my two dogs didn't particularly care for that snow. My Akita, I was surprised she didn't like it. But anyway. So what am I getting on here for? Nothing in particular. I just hadn't made a video in quite some time. And thought y'all missed the hat. So here I am. I was thinking back to the cold of Iceland. And then I thought about the power we had where I worked. It was called the OpCon, Operations Control, where we did super secret stuff that I could always tell my wife, can't talk about it, secret, because I didn't want to talk about it because it was so boring. Every month they'd change that number you had to punch in on the electric punch key to get in to the part of the building where we were. This was a naval base we were on. We were an Air Force contingent. And to be honest, that was the best time that I had when I was in the Air Force. We met some nice people up there, and They took us in until we could find a place off base. Marshall and Stella Kern, wonderful people. They traveled, took us with them all over Iceland. The travelingest people I know, they're still wandering this globe. They've got more energy than I've got. But we worked up in this place, and I was a glorified telephone operator. We had a switchboard. We were in contact with bases in Scotland and somewhere else, some other island. I can't remember what island it was. And what we did is kept tabs on the submarines that came out of Murmansk, passed by Iceland down into the Atlantic. Don't tell anybody what I'm telling you now, because it was secret. And, you know, we couldn't talk about this stuff. Still can't, probably. I'm sure I can get into a lot of trouble if I tell you guys this stuff. I don't know whether getting shot's still in there or not, but I figured this was what, 60 some odd years ago. The base isn't even on Iceland anymore. It's long been decommissioned or whatever. But in our, I don't know whether you call it an office space, but in the room we were in, Air Force was on the left side of the room, and the naval portion was on the right side of the room, as you stood in between them, looking at the wall that you looked at when you walked in the door. I found out that we had all kinds of good things that we could do in order to get movies. We got movies to watch because half the time it was boring up there. There was nothing to do. And pastry things from the bakers. Bear claws and all kinds of wonderful delicacies. Good cooks up there. We would even have them delivered because behind the naval portion, where the two anchor clankers sat, you could go up into an office that was closed off and had a red light up there like it was important. And you could go into this closet and there was a red phone in there. Now that red phone, you were not supposed to use it for anything except official business. Well, those swabbies on the other side, they had a good thing going. Because unbeknownst to the guys above them, they were using that red phone so that people could call home for free and talk as long as they wanted to, as long as there was nothing going on. And the main people who got to use that phone to call home were the people in the bakery and the people in the, what was it, the radio, USAF radio or Air Force, the official radio for all the forces around the world. I can't remember the name of it right now. But they would come over and they'd bring us movies in exchange for calling on that phone. And the guys from the bakery would come over and bring a humongous carton of bear claws and all kinds of pastries and donuts. And we had a humongous urn over in the corner to make coffee in, which the squids kept full of coffee. And we'd sit there and put our feet up on the counter and eat bear claws and drink coffee and watch the movie on the screen. Didn't happen every night, but on occasion it did happen. But that's how we got our free goodies. But what happened with us is that when we got word, because we had planes out up in the northeastern quadrant above Iceland, and if they picked up the signal from a Russian sub going down through that, like a channel, I guess, beside Scotland and Iceland to get into the Atlantic, probably going to Cuba, we would start plotting their route on this huge map we had up there. And every time we get a new plot, we would call Scotland, tell them what we had, and they would tell us what they had. And we did that all night. And then the next crew coming on did it for the rest of the day. At one time, Cuba was having some problems. I don't remember what it was. And Russia wanted to fly some humanitarian aid down, and they requested a landing at Iceland, the air base there, which they did. And we had some pilots. All the pilots were told not to fly alongside the Russian relief plane as it took off. And we had one guy who did it anyway. And I think soon after he was shipped off to Vietnam. You don't disobey orders in time of war. We had the guy who was in charge of us. He was not long for retirement. And I don't know if he did something wrong or if he just requested it because he wanted to go to a war site, or I don't know. But he requested, or he got sent to Vietnam. And I heard that soon after that, now this is the story I heard. I doubt that this guy is around anymore. He was about my age or close whenever he was our officer in charge. But he was flying a mission, and one of the missiles, he didn't use one of his missiles, and it was on the wing. And this is a story, I don't know if it's true or not, but this is the story I heard. I mean, I think it's a great story. And I wouldn't put it past the guy. But he was climbing out of the cockpit, and the guys below the wing were having a problem getting that missile off. And he said, "You guys having a problem?" I said, "Yeah, we can't get this missile off your wing." He said, "Get out of the way. I'll show you how to do it." He got back in the cockpit, pressed the button, and that missile went flying off the wing. I don't think he stayed in Vietnam much longer. He went somewhere on the West Coast in retirement. The guy who was my immediate supervisor, Captain, can't remember his last name now. I knew his sister from college. And that was small world, you know, you meet the brother of someone you knew in college. Anyway, he wanted to go to Vietnam before the war was over, and he wanted to be a pilot. But I don't think his eyesight was good enough for a pilot or something, so he became a navigator, and he went, as we were winding down that war, he went over there as a navigator. I haven't heard anything about him since, but I'm sure he came back. I wish I could remember his name. Can't even remember his sister's name now. Getting old as hell. When I came home on leave from Iceland, my mother was all excited. She said, "I saw you on the news." I said, I beg your pardon, you saw me on the news?" She said, "Yeah, I know it was you." I said, "What was I doing?" She said, "You were getting out of an airplane, walking to some building." And I looked at, I said, I never flew on an airplane." She said, "I know that was you. It looked exactly like you. It walked like you." I said, "It wasn't me." Ah. Someone wanting to see, tricked by their own eyes. Every few months we'd have a party in the officers club. Can't remember the official name now, but it was the captain's party. And every time we'd have it, there'd be more people there. It grew and grew. Got quite a reputation for the antics that we came up with. A lot of drinking. A lot of drinking. But having that red phone, those of us who worked in that office, we got to use it anytime we wanted to, except in an emergency, of course. Quite a bargaining chip for lonely guys across the sea during wartime. My friend that I was talking about, that Marshall Kern, he allowed us, my then wife and I, to stay with them until we found a place. And he came, it was Christmas time, and he came home with a tree to decorate. And we said, "But we didn't think you decorated Christmas trees." He said, "This isn't a Christmas tree. This is a Hanukkah bush, and we're going to decorate it." They made us feel so welcome. I cannot say enough about how wonderful those two were. They were just wonderful. He had a next door neighbor, and he asked my wife if we would watch their child while they went to England for a week. And she said, yeah, without asking. Because I said, no, I didn't want anything to do with children back then. But she said, yeah. And we went there and picked them up with their child and took them to the airplane. As they were getting on, the guy looked over, laughed, and he said, see you in 2 weeks. I looked at my wife, and she said, he said 1. And then that first night that we were there with that child in their apartment, he locked himself in the bathroom. And the window was too little to get in. I can't remember how we finally got that kid out of that bathroom and then got him settled down to go to sleep. I mean, he wasn't very old, but he was mad that his parents had gone away and left him with strangers. I felt the same way. And as my wife and I settled down, she said, happy anniversary, because it was our anniversary that day. She had given me, what was it? Not a get well card. It was some kind of a card that was saying, sorry, you're in this situation or something. Anyway, that was probably the best time she and I had together. And I know it's the best time I had with another couple, because Marsh and Stale were the best hosts you could ever want. All right, I've jabbered on about nothing for too long. All right, you folks, thanks for coming by. Thanks for having a pipe with me. I had a cup of tea to go with it. I appreciate your smoking with me, and if you had a beverage, I appreciate you having a beverage with me. But I ask you to take care of yourself, and God bless you. Till the next time. Bye-bye.